During World War II, Japan attacked the United States' naval base in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, on December 7, 1941, and devastated the U.S. battleship forces by a surprise attack. This attack on Pearl Harbor forced the United States to face the reality of the war and could no longer continue to have an isolationist attitude towards the World War. This crisis forced America to enter into the conflict. President Franklin D. Roosevelt of the United States and Emperor Hirohito, the ruler of Japan, both played a big role in determining their country's foreign policies and therefore the war. Their personalities are an important factor in studying the crisis of Pearl Harbor. President FDR was born January 30th, 1882 in Hyde Park, New York, and graduated from Harvard University and Columbia Law School. He came from a very wealthy and old money family. He died at the age of 63 in the White House due to a cerebral hemorrhage in 1945. He contracted polio, which resulted in permanent paralysis from the waist down. Even though his paralysis could not be reversed, he was determined in curing his paralysis through various methods and therapies. This attests to his highly optimistic attitude that even permeated through to his presidency. His overwhelming level of optimism aided in keeping up the morale during the war for the citizens, as well as the troops abroad. Before being elected president, he had an influential political career path, as he was the governor of New York, assistant secretary of the Navy, and he was a member of the New York Senate. He was the Democratic candidate in the 1932 presidential election and was in office from 1933 to 1945, which made him the longest reigning president of the United States, as he was the only president to be elected for 4 terms. During his presidency, FDR endured many crises and hardships of the country, such as the Great Depression, the environmental crisis of the Dust Bowl, and of course World War II. He was truly a leader of the people, as he related so well with the common man, and therefore his popularity was very high. He even held fireside chats, which were a series of 30 broadcasts on public radio that addressed the nation on various important topics. One of the most memorable and epic speeches throughout American history was the one President Roosevelt made after the attack on Pearl Harbor. The first sentence of his speech is one of the most well-known. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. This speech attests to the charismatic personality of FDR, as he says, "No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. We will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us." By making this declaration of war, America could no longer detach itself from the international arena and had to accept that the effects of globalization meant required involvement from all countries. Emperor Hirohito was one of the most influential leaders of Japan, as he was the longest ruling leader in Japanese history. He was in power from 1926 to 1989, reigning for 62 years. Throughout his political life, he helped change Japan from an agricultural industry to an urban, democratic, and industrial nation. He was born in the Aoyama Palace and was royalty. He attended a special institute for the crown prince. He believed in the Shinto religion and ruled the country under the claim that the religion declared him a divine incarnate, giving him the authority to rule. The people of Japan felt disconnected from their leader, Emperor Hirohito, during the war and throughout his entire reign of power. His aristocratic upbringing and his royal status as divine ruler separated him from the common man. America took a hard hit to its naval base in Hawaii. The Japanese destroyed 5 battleships and damaged 3. Combat planes were also blown up or damaged, and they killed over 2,400 Americans. Before the attack on Pearl Harbor, American citizens were deeply torn in their opinions on joining the war or staying out of the conflict. After the Japanese raid, America stood united in its view of needing to be engaged in the war. Emperor Hirohito's style of ruling and President Roosevelt's style of leadership were vastly different in comparison. President FDR was able to motivate the American troops and the people to be ready and engaged in war. On the other hand, Emperor Hirohito's aloof and distant personality hurt his efforts to unify the country and therefore hurt his chances in organizing a unified front against the alliance powers. This difference in character is what ultimately set these two leaders apart during the war.